Also, just want to give you an update on the transfer station. It's my goal to have a fairly detailed report that the staff's put together, basically on all the aspects from the finances to the financial to the business plan for that transfer station before our next work session. That would be the November work session. And again, as I indicated when we took on this concept last month, took it on again, I should say, and are reinvestigating it, there will be more questions, and we fully expect that. But we hope to have a fairly comprehensive report for you, and certainly I fully expect you'll have more questions that we'll have to go back and research. But I think it'll be a good start, and we're trying to cover all aspects that we can come up with or that are at least feasible to cover at this stage. But our plan is to have something to talk about and discuss at that work session in November. On the street sweeper program, and again, just for the public who may have heard about this for the first time tonight, it is our intent after your vote last week to get the street sweeper fixed, and with the inmate program, which is approved tonight, we'll have enough employee availability to use that street sweeper on the main corridors that were discussed last week. I don't have those in front of me. I know Richard's got those handy if anybody wants to see what those are. I think there was a good list in the newspaper last week. But it is our intent to try and sweep those main corridors. As we discussed at that meeting, we won't be able to sweep every street right now, and maybe we can get back to that in the near future. I don't think it'll happen this budget year. That's just too much of a task, too much of a financial commitment this time to make. But I think if we start with these basic corridors, we can clean up some of these main entries into the town, clean up those streets, and give our visitors a good impression. And we'll see how that goes and go from there. I think the inmate program will help that, and we might have a few more possibilities at the end of this fiscal year, and maybe we can expand that program a little bit. But again, I don't want to overpromise. I don't want people to be under the impression that we're going to be sweeping every single residential street. That is not the concept at all right now. The idea right now is to roll out there something we can afford to do right now, with our limited availability of employee power, and also keep that single street sweeper active. It's a high maintenance piece of equipment, but to keep it moving. I'm sure we'll learn a few things in the first couple of months. I don't mean new things, because we've done this before quite actively, but the wear and tear on that machine, it hasn't been used in about a year and a half, Richard, 2 years now. So, you get something out you haven't used on a regular basis, other things break, so we may go through that a little bit. So please bear with us, but we're going to get that piece of equipment out there as soon as possible, and hopefully by early November, still a good possibility, Richard. So that's our plan on that. Another couple updates, Mayor, and I'll be through. We did do our email and website hosting a changeover Thursday night, and I think we all aspire to do these things seamlessly, and that's always the plan going in, and rarely in the computer world does it happen quite that way. So we've had a few bumps in the road. We're up, basically, we have our email basically operating in most areas. A few people are still struggling with it, but most of them are up and running. Still having a few slowdowns in our website, but that should be cleared up, we hope, by end of the day tomorrow. So please bear with us. It's actually, in the scheme of things, probably gone about as smoothly as it could. But unfortunately, there are a few bumps here and there, and we've been working with that really over the weekend, too, to get that up and running. But I think we're getting pretty close. A few new items, Mayor. One, we've always spoken about the inmate program. There's another petition that was filed. Charter Communications filed a petition with the FCC, basically seeking relief to adjust their rates. There are certain presumptions when you operate a cable operation that the federal law gives to cable companies, that basically that the competitive level is at a certain level, that they have to have their rates approved and highly regulated by the FCC. What they're looking for is relief from that regulation, basically, which, it's not, I guess, written in stone, but the idea, I think, is to allow them to increase their rates at some level. The chances of success in that petition, somewhere between probably good and fair for them to get that relief. The city is just a recipient of that petition, unless we actively take a role in that, and I'm not sure that's going to change anything. It's very administrative in nature. The FCC staff will review it, check the formula, check the numbers provided by charter, and make sure that that is the analysis. What they're saying is that there's enough competition in this area that they should be able to adjust their rates accordingly. Certainly there are still limits even on that. I don't know all the ins and outs there, but that's about as far as we've gotten on this initial petition. And I guess if there's any direction from the city council, Mr. Chichester has reviewed the petition, and he's suggested that we could at least send a letter that he could draft with my help, that we could sign on behalf of the city, expressing our, let's say, disagreement with their position that basically that it is a naturally competitive or non-competitive environment, and that will protect our rates as they are. The success level on that is hard to predict, but we could try that if that's the council's inclination. And I don't, Mr. Chichester authorized me to kind of make this presentation. If you have any questions for me or for our city attorney, please feel free to ask that. I don't believe this is any kind of legal matter. I think it's truly a public matter that we should talk about openly. Again, it's just a matter of how much of a response do we want to file, and frankly, how much of an impact is that going to have? You know, possibly a page or two-page letter might be all we get and get our money's worth out of that, but that might be better than doing nothing. But I'll leave that for the city council's discretion.
I would like for the council to go on record opposing any type of increase for charter.
Exactly, yes, right. Too long of a contract.
And I will entertain that motion if somebody would make it, and give me a second.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second that the Roanoke Rapids City Council goes on record allowing the manager and the city attorney to transmit a letter to charter opposing any type of increase.
Will be the charter or FCC?
The FCC. We would file that
FCC,
letter. We'll
okay.
certainly send them a copy of it.
All right. Is there any discussion on that? There being no discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, and the ayes carry.
And Mayor, finally, there's an attachment to the memorandum I gave you tonight. Basically, the county's putting together some legislative goals for this next general session coming up in our General Assembly for 2010, and they've asked for some input. They've given us a list of a draft kind of point-by-point recommendations that we can meet with our local delegation, probably in December or January before that session starts later in the year, to discuss those goals. And basically, I forward this to you just for your input. We have a little bit of time. They're looking for any kind of suggestions or direct input by the end of November, so I want to get that to you as soon as possible. And we'll have time to talk about this, you know, really as early as the work session in November or the regular meeting in November. But to meet that deadline, we'll probably have to have an idea of what to send to them by the end of that month. So that's our meeting period. So if you have some ideas, take a look at these, or want to instruct staff even after those meetings to research some things, we'll be happy to do that for you. And I think staff can also provide you with a few suggested changes or recommendations to go before that, or go to the county and hopefully to our local delegation. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Anyone have any questions for the manager concerning his report?
Paul, I have a question. How's it going on the in-house pay study that was brought up at the work session? How's that proceeding?
Kathy Kearney, our personnel director, has done a great job in the last, it's been a week, I guess. She's already gotten probably 80% of that information. She's still waiting to hear from 2 or 3, I think, municipalities. And it just takes them a little bit of time by the time you call them, and it's a pretty elaborate, you know, system for the police department to get that back to. But I'll tell you, the other municipalities have been very cooperative in getting us the information. Just waiting to hear from a few more, and hopefully I'll have something for you. Possibly by the beginning of November on that, at least have a good idea. But we're getting close. It's actually gone pretty fast, because sometimes those studies take a long time to get information back. But again, we've gotten some good data that was already out there in the municipal league survey. So we had that to start with, and then we've added the actual ones in our region that are more comparable in population and demographics to really give you a true comparison.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Paul.